Friend Don Costa introduced him. He became his producer. So we were down in Miami. He's doing a movie. He calls me up. He says, "Kid, come on, have dinner." I go and have dinner with him. This is like 67.
For 60 years, Paul Anka.
This is like 67. For 60 years, Paul Anka kept Frank Sinatra's darkest secrets under lock and key. But now, at 84, he's finally opening up. In 1968, Sinatra fixed him with a stare and said something that changed everything. It wasn't only about my way. It was about mob ties, scandals buried out of sight, and the people who vanished when they crossed the chairman of the board. Anka saw it all. He stayed quiet through threats, bribes, and worse. But time loosens tongues, and the stories he's sharing now threaten to shatter Sinatra's legacy for good. Paul Anka was born on 30th of July, 1941, at Ottawa Civic Hospital. He was the child of immigrants. His father, Andrew Anka, arrived from Damascus in 1924 with just $15 and one suitcase. In Ottawa, he opened a little place called Locanda on Laurier Avenue West. They served spaghetti for 45. Reporters from the Ottawa Citizen loved it. That restaurant doubled as Paul's universe. By age 7, he could rattle off the name of every federal cabinet minister. He picked up juicy political gossip at table 4. Saturdays, he greeted over 300 customers. He watched his father hustle, work, smile, shake hands, and he absorbed every move. The family lived in a 2-bedroom house on Clearview Avenue. There were 5 of them. Winters sank to minus 25°C. Paul practiced singing in mittens. Money was tight, but 2 forces shaped him, his father's drive and his mother's Arabic lullabies. Her name was Shamaleya. She came from Lebanon. Those melodies never left him. In the autumn of 1953, Paul was 12. He walked into Fisher Park, high school, with a $14 guitar someone had lent him. He told everyone he'd started a group and named it the Bobby Sockers. He brought in 2 classmates, Raymond Carrier and Gerald Borrow. They rehearsed in his basement right beside crates of tomatoes. Some nights they sang past 2 in the morning. Paul taught himself piano from a worn-out John Thompson book. He even scribbled lyrics during math class. By 13, he'd already written 27 songs. His music teacher, Frederick Karam, remembered every one. Once, Paul wanted to play the Fairmont Club in Quebec, but he was too young. So he took his mother's Buick without a license and crossed the river. He convinced the doorman to let him sing for free. He performed I Confess, a song he wrote himself. He won first prize, $25, plus a week of bookings. The police issued a warning, but everyone else saw a kid who wouldn't quit. Every Sunday, Paul sang at St. Elias Cathedral. He learned old hymns in unusual time signatures like 7/8. He blended those with boogie tunes he caught late at night on CKUA radio. The mix sounded new. At a YMCA contest, one judge called it weirdly hypnotic. By 1955, Paul had become the star of every local show. In just 6 months, he performed 42 times. One appearance came during halftime at a Rough Riders football game. 19,000 people clapped along to a song he'd written with the odd title, Blau weil de Vast Fontaine. He'd lifted the phrase from a book he was reading for English class. The Ottawa Journal dubbed him the pint-sized Sinatra. At 14, he was making over $60 Canadian dollars a week, triple what other kids got as allowance. Then came the soup. Cans. Early in 1955, Paul spotted a Campbell's contest, send in 1,500 labels, and win $100 plus a free ticket anywhere in North America. For 3 months, he dove into IGA dumpsters. He filled 12 sacks with tomato soup labels. His sister Miriam helped glue them to entry forms. On 5th of May, 1955, he won. He chose Los Angeles. He had $200. He stayed with his Uncle Morris in Hawthorne and hitchhiked 18 kilometers to Modern Records. He tried to audition without an appointment. They said no, but he left with a demo, and he saw the Capitol Records Tower for the first time. He told himself he'd be inside it one day, that Christmas. Paul shocked his parents. He didn't want to go back to school. He wanted New York. His father, Andy, said fine. 6 months to land a record deal. Fail. And he'd come back and work full-time at Locanda. On 1st of January 1956, Paul boarded a CPR train with $500 and 2 suitcases, a 16-hour ride to Grand Central. On day 53 of his 6-month deadline, he auditioned for Don Costa at ABC Paramount. He sang Diana. Costa picked up the phone and called Andy back in Ottawa. "Your boy just wrote a million-seller," he said. Paul never worked in the restaurant again. By 1957, he had 1 song and 5 minutes. That was it. He stood in front of Don Costa with the Diana demo. Costa listened to the first verse, then stopped him and called everyone into the room. "By you are." The end of that hour, Paul had a contract. They offered him 2 cents per record, double the standard for new singers. The story spread across the label. From that day on, any surprise hit was called a 5-minute miracle. Diana was recorded on the 19th of May, 1957, at RCA's Studio B. It came out in July. No ads, no posters. 3 weeks later, it was spinning on 83 stations. By September, it hit number 1 in 6 countries. It sold 9 million copies in 18 months. In Britain alone, it sat at number 1 for 9 weeks. It sold 25 million records there, trailing only Rock Around the Clock. In Canada, 2 vinyl plants in Edmonton ran 24 hours a day to keep up Dot. Before that breakthrough, Paul had booked a show in Ottawa for the 28th of October, 1956, at the Capitol Theatre. The crowd turned on him. They thought he was lip-syncing. They booed and threw coins. He sprinted off stage. "I'm never singing in this town again," he told the promoter. He kept that promise for 25 years. He didn't return until the city gave him the key to Ottawa in 1981. He said that night ended his childhood. By 1959, Paul was airborne nonstop. His passport showed 146,000 kilometers. London in January, Sydney in March, Tokyo in June, Havana just before Castro took power. He was 17, still needed a guardian to co-sign his shows, but he earned $15,000 a night. Some nights he made more than Sinatra. Fans screamed so loud they threw shoes on stage just to make him bend down and touch their country's soil. In Cuba, police banned high heels because of him. But Paul wasn't only singing, he was studying the business. In 1958, he noticed European record deals paid better, so he renegotiated. He got 5 cents in the U.S., but 3 cents overseas. He also demanded to keep his publishing rights. He was 17 when he launched Spanka Music. That meant every time someone played Diana, Lonely Boy, or later My Way, he got the money, not the label. By 18, his songs had earned $2, 5 million. He bought a Las Vegas lounge and an apartment building in Montreal. He couldn't legally drink in either place, but he owned both. On 17th of August, 1960, in a dim Hamburg club, 4 young men from Liverpool hit the stage. No one knew their names, but night after night, they transformed. The Beatles were being born. Within 3 years, they and the Rolling Stones stacked 8 UK number 1s. As they soared, Paul Anka faded. Every new single missed. None cracked the bow. Top 20. His label, ABC Paramount, slashed studio budgets, then dropped him. They wanted younger voices. Anka was just 21. Only 3 years earlier, he'd sold 13 million singles. By spring 1963, the numbers cratered. Under 1 million records sold for 2 straight quarters, an 80% drop. Radio turned away too. In 1960, Wynn's New York spun him 28 times a week. By May 1963, only 3. The Beatles that same month got 55. Overnight, teen idols were out. Anka wasn't even 22, and he was already old news. Most singers would have disappeared. Anka didn't. In December 1962, he walked into ABC's New York office and did something bold. He handed them a cashier's check for $250,000, worth more than $2, $5 million today, and bought back every song he'd recorded for them. Executives laughed. His entire back catalog brought in under $40,000 a year. They called it a waste. Anka knew better. Those songs already had 31 foreign covers. Now he'd get 100% of new licenses. By 1970, Pepsi commercials and re-releases of Diana and Put Your Head on My Shoulder pushed his catalog to $15 million. By 2020, the same catalog had earned around $100 million. On the original contract, he'd scribbled one crucial line: all future formats included. That meant no extra payments for CDs, downloads, or streaming, ever. In early 1963, he flew to San Juan for the longest day. On set, he met Anne de Zogab, a model and former Miss Sweden runner-up. For the next year, he wrote her letters from airports and sent proposals on red-eye tickets. On 16th of February, 1963, they flew to Paris and married at 2 a.m. inside the Orly Airport VIP lounge. Guests drank 1955 Dom Perignon. Their wedding cake came by plane from Maxim's. Frank Sinatra sent a telegram. "Kid, you're crazy, but Mazel Tov." Life magazine ran 4 pages on it. Her gown had 200 pearls sewn by hand. They danced their first. Danced to a live rendition of Put Your Head on My Shoulder, played by a 12-piece orchestra from Lolo. They stayed married 37 years, 5 daughters. They separated in 2000. Back in 1962, just a month before the wedding, Anka had written a 32-bar military march in 48 hours for the longest day. The film's budget was $5 million. He agreed to act for $1. Instead of a fee, the producer gave him 25% of the global gross. The film opened 25th in September 1962 and made $30, $5 million in its first year. Anka's share was $76,000, roughly 900 times his acting pay. The march won an Oscar. NATO adopted the tune. By 1965, military parades from Ottawa to Oslo were playing his melody.